The screen light makes his face look sharper than it is in real life. You ask, "What are you feeling?" And he goes quiet, eyes drifting somewhere just past the camera. The silence is not dramatic, but it lands heavy, like a door that did not open. You watch for proof in tiny things: the swallow in his throat, the way his fingers tap once against the edge of his mug. Your mind starts stitching a story because stories feel safer than waiting. I almost text. I do not. And this is where love starts to feel like a battlefield. Not because he is your enemy, but because something inside you panics at being seen. And something inside him panics at seeing himself. The connection stays warm and still. Your chest tightens like you are about to lose something you have not even held yet. The restaurant is small enough that you can hear other people's forks touch plates. Soft clinks in the candlelight. There is a silver spoon on the table that keeps catching the flame, flashing warm gold every time someone shifts. You sit across from him and feel that rare thing, a quiet ease, the kind you do not have to perform for. He is telling you a story about his day. Nothing big, just the ordinary texture of it. His voice is calm, and you notice how he looks up when you speak, like he is actually listening instead of waiting for his turn. The air smells like citrus and something toasted. And for a second you let yourself imagine this could be simple. Then you say it, almost without thinking. You're gentle. It is not flirtation, not a test, just a truth that slips out because you feel safe enough to name what you see. His mouth lifts into a smile, quick and bright, and then it changes. It is subtle, like a curtain pulled halfway, like a light dimmed just enough to make the room feel different. He looks down at the menu, taps it once with his finger, and suddenly he is talking about entrees like they matter more than the moment you just offered him. You tell yourself it is fine. You tell yourself he's just hungry, just tired, just focused. But your body hears the pivot as information, even if you do not want to admit it. The spoon flashes again, and you catch your own reflection in it. Warped and small, you feel that familiar ache, the one that comes when tenderness is met with a polite detour. I hate that I do this. You try to stay light. What do you feel when I say that, you ask? Voice soft, like you are placing something fragile on the table between you. He lets out a small breath through his nose, a sound that could be a laugh if you did not know what avoidance looks like up close. I don't know, he says, too fast. Then he adds, it's just you're being nice. His eyes do not meet yours when he says it, and the candle makes shadows under his lashes that look like tiredness, or maybe like fear. For a moment, you want to chase it, to pull the truth out by force, to prove you can handle whatever he is hiding, but you can feel the line in the air, like an invisible fence. You do not want to cross it the way you used to, with urgency disguised as love. So you do something quieter. You let your hand rest on the edge of the table, fingertips against the cool wood, and you watch him with a steadier gaze. You realize the battlefield is not the restaurant, not the menu, not even the silence between his words. It is the fact that being seen as gentle feels like risk to someone who learned to survive by being hard. And the strange part is, you can feel both truths at once. You deserve softness returned, and he is not yet sure he knows how to receive it. The candle flickers. The spoon flashes. And the moment does not end in drama. It just changes shape, becoming a little more honest, a little more revealing. You take a sip of water, and you decide, quietly, not to punish him for flinching. Not yet. The elevator smells like someone's cologne and rain from wet coats. The mirror on the back wall turns you into a doubled version of yourself, shoulder to shoulder with your own thoughts. The fluorescent light is too honest. It shows the tightness in his jaw before either of you says a word. You reach for his hand the way you would if you were not thinking so much. He does not pull away dramatically. He just does not meet you there, shifting his weight into the corner like the space itself is safer than touch. In the mirror, his long coat hangs straight, but his shoulders look like they are bracing for impact. And your mind, trying to protect you, calls it, he is losing interest. He is cooling off. He is going to disappear the moment you let yourself believe this is real. You feel your stomach drop like a bad step on a staircase. A single detail becomes a whole verdict. The distance between your fingers and his becomes a sentence. Your eyes flick to his reflection, then to the floor numbers lighting up, then back to the place where your hand hangs uselessly for a second. Then another possibility presses in. Quieter. Maybe he is not withdrawing from you. Maybe he is withdrawing from what you awaken in him. In the mirror, you see it more clearly. Not romance. Not rejection. Just tension. The kind of tension someone carries when closeness feels like a spotlight. When being wanted feels like a demand they do not trust themselves to meet. You do not have to turn this moment into proof of abandonment. So you try a different move. You let your hand fall back to your own bag strap. Feel the texture under your thumb. And you breathe as if you have time. When the elevator dings, you step out without punishing him. And you give the story in your head a little less authority. Later, the bathroom is warmer than the rest of the apartment. Steam rising like a soft fog from the shower. The mirror is completely blurred, as if the room has decided not to show anyone to themselves tonight. A towel hangs crooked on the hook. One corner damp, one corner dry. He stands there with his palms on the sink, head slightly bowed, listening to water drip somewhere behind the curtain. In this light, he looks younger and older at the same time, like someone who has been carrying the same private argument for years. He reaches up and wipes one clean streak through the fog with the side of his hand. For a second, his face appears in that narrow, clear line. Eyes steady, mouth pressed thin. Then he stops wiping, as if seeing himself for even that long is too much. The rest of the mirror stays clouded, protecting him with its blur. You can feel the pivot in him the same way you felt it at the restaurant. Not anger, not coldness, just a retreat into control, into tasks, into anything that does not require honesty. He turns the faucet on, rinses his hands that are already clean, and watches the water like it has instructions. In his head, the words do not come out as a speech. They come out as a thin, sharp question. If she loves the real me, what do I have left to perform? The fear is almost tender. If you look at it straight, he has learned that being impressive is safer than being known. Being needed is manageable, but being chosen for the unpolished parts feels like standing on a ledge. You hover in the doorway, not to spy, not to demand, just to witness. The smell of soap and warm water fills your lungs, and you realize something that changes the shape of the room. His distance is not always about you. Sometimes it is about the moment his own mask starts to slip, and he does not know what will be underneath it. He reaches for the towel, adjusts it on the hook so it hangs straighter, like making one thing neat might quiet the chaos. The mirror stays fogged. The streak he made slowly disappears, and the bathroom goes back to hiding him. You do not fix it for him. You just stand there long enough to see that the battle is not between two people. It is inside one person who is terrified that love will finally take away his best disguise. The video call connects with a soft click, and the screen light gives his face that bluish, winter look. Behind him, there is a plain wall and the edge of a lamp that is turned off, like the room is keeping itself dim on purpose. You can hear a faint hum, maybe a computer fan, maybe the quiet of someone holding their breath. You ask, "What are you feeling?" and you try to keep your voice simple, not careful, not sharp. He blinks once, slow. Then his eyes drift to the side as if he is reading something that is not on the screen. The silence stretches to 12 seconds. And in that space, your mind starts reaching for old conclusions again. His mouth opens like he will speak, then closes. You hear a chair shift, a small scrape on the floor, and it is oddly intimate. These tiny sounds that prove he is still there. The quiet is not empty. It is crowded, like a hallway outside a locked door. You notice your own hand tighten around your phone, thumb hovering near the end call button. You imagine how easy it would be to end the discomfort, to turn this into a clean story with a clean ending. But you also notice something else. The way his shoulders lift on an inhale and do not fully drop on the exhale. Finally he says, almost apologetic, "That question feels like a spotlight." He does not say what is under it, but you can hear the effort it takes to admit even that much. You let the words land without pouncing on them. You do not soothe him into silence, and you do not punish him for being human. You just answer quietly, "I'm not trying to corner you. I'm trying to know you." The screen holds both of you there. Two faces lit by the same cold glow. And the moment becomes honest in a way that is not romantic, but real. Sunday morning has that pale, slow light that makes everything look softer than it feels. The kitchen smells like coffee and dish soap, and the sponge in the sink is swollen with water, heavy in your hand when you pick it up. He stands at the counter like he is waiting for instructions, shoulders slightly forward, eyes on something that does not matter. You say, "You don't have to be perfect," because you mean it, because you are tired of love feeling like a performance review. The words are gentle, almost casual, but they land like a stone dropped into still water. You see the ripple in him before he turns. He pivots toward the sink and starts washing his hands. He has already washed them once, maybe twice, but he does it again, rubbing his palms like the motion can erase the sentence you just spoke. Water runs too long, the sound filling the room like a barrier. For a moment you want to laugh, not because it is funny, but because it is so human. This is what fear looks like when it wears clean clothes. This is what control looks like when it pretends to be hygiene. He looks at his hands instead of at you and says, "I'm just trying to be right for you." And there it is. The quiet confession hiding inside the avoidance. He does not know how to receive tenderness without turning it into a task. You watch the soaked sponge sag against the metal divider. A small, exhausted thing. The kitchen is ordinary, but your chest feels like it is holding something fragile. You are not asking for perfection. You are asking for presence. And somehow that feels more dangerous to him. I notice how often the moment things get real, the room gets louder inside people than it is outside. A pattern I keep seeing is that someone says "I'm fine" while their jaw tightens and they start narrating a breakup in their head. Here's what tends to happen. We mistake a private fear for a public fact. Then we react to the story we wrote. The smallest details become evidence, even when no evidence was offered. You feel the temptation to step in and rescue the moment, to explain yourself better, to make it easy for him to stay. But a quieter strength rises instead. the kind that does not beg for understanding. You let the water run a second longer. Then you say, "Steady. I'm not asking you to be right. I'm asking you to be here." He does not answer immediately. He turns the faucet off. Finally, and the sudden silence is louder than the water was. You both stand there with the damp air and the smell of coffee, and you realize this is where the battlefield actually is. Not in arguing, not in drama, in the simple sentence that asks him to stop managing love and start meeting it. There is a word for this in Jungian psychology: the shadow. It is the part of you that learned to survive by hiding certain feelings, and it shows up in plain life as dodging a compliment, turning a question into a joke, or washing your hands for the third time instead of letting someone see your face. When love gets real, that hidden part does not dissolve into romance. It steps forward because it wants control. And control feels like safety when you have a long history with disappointment. You can call it fear. You can call it pride. You can call it old shame. But you will recognize it by the way it tries to take the wheel. Think back to the bathroom mirror, the steam erasing his reflection. He wiped one clean line and then stopped, like the sight of himself was too intimate. That is the moment the unowned part is asking, without words, am I allowed to be seen without being punished? People imagine the battlefield is between two lovers, but so often it is inside one person, between the part that wants to come closer and the part that believes closeness is how you lose yourself. The closer you get to being chosen for who you are, the more the old self panics, because it has been living on performance and distance. And this is why true love can feel intense and frightening at the same time. It is not only the risk of losing someone, it is the risk of losing your armor. It is the risk of letting your life be honest. This is where individuation comes in. Not as a concept you have to study, but as a behavior you can notice. It is the slow act of stopping the automatic reflexes and choosing a cleaner response. Even when your chest wants to run, it looks like staying in the room, answering the question, turning toward instead of away. If he is willing, the shadow does not have to be the enemy. It can be the part that finally sits down at the table and stops throwing plates from the hallway. But that only happens when someone chooses presence over image. Again and again. In the small rooms where nobody is watching. The elevator ride happens again on another day. Another ordinary in-between moment. The hallway outside is quiet. And when the doors close, the mirror catches both of you with that blunt honesty that makes you look a little tired. The air is cooler this time, and you can smell detergent from someone's laundry basket nearby. You notice the same thing you noticed before. His shoulders setting like a shield. His hand stays close to his side. Fingers flexing once, as if he is deciding whether touch will be a relief or a threat. Your mind tries to sprint ahead, but you feel the strap of your bag under your thumb and you make yourself stay inside your own body, inside the actual moment. You do not reach for him automatically. You do not punish him with distance either. You just breathe, slow enough to hear the soft whir of the elevator moving, and you choose one sentence that is true without being sharp. I'm here, you say, quietly, eyes on his reflection. And I'm not guessing today. The words are simple, but they change the temperature in the small metal box. They tell him you will not chase a story, and you will not abandon yourself to keep him comfortable. They also tell him you are not leaving just because he flinched. He swallows, and his eyes flick toward you in the mirror for half a second, then away again. But the half second matters. It is a crack in the armor, a sign that something heard you. The elevator dings. The doors open. You step out side by side, and nothing is solved. But something is cleaner. You did not trade your steadiness for his uncertainty. Sunday morning comes back around the way it always does. Quietly, without ceremony. The kitchen is pale with early light, and the air still smells like coffee, warm and slightly bitter. The sponge sits in the sink again, soaked and slumped like a small, tired animal that has done its job too many times. He is at the counter, and you can feel the familiar moment approaching. The place where you could make it easy, where you could smooth everything over, where you could translate your needs into something smaller so he does not panic. You watch his hands, the way they hover near the faucet, like they are looking for a task to hide inside. You can almost hear the old reflex warming up, and you remember the restaurant candle, the compliment that made him flinch. You remember the elevator mirror and the story your mind tried to write. You remember the video call silence, the way a simple question became a spotlight. The pattern is not evil, but it is clear. So this time, you do not fight for closeness by shrinking. You do not fight for peace by pretending you need less. You stand in the same room and let your voice be calm, not pleading, not icy, just clean. I'm not asking you to perform. You say, I'm asking you to stay present with me when it matters. He looks down, jaw working, like he is trying to swallow something that is hard to swallow. You feel the pull in yourself to rush in and rescue the moment, to soften the edges until the truth disappears. I almost text. I do not. Here is the standard. Simple enough to live by. If someone cannot meet basic emotional questions over time, you do not keep donating your peace to fill the silence. Love does not have to be constant intensity, but it does have to be contact. The kind that shows up again and again in ordinary rooms. He reaches for the faucet, then he stops. The pause is small, but it is a choice. You watch his hand hover, then drop to his side, and he turns toward you instead of toward the water. Maybe he says, I don't know how. Maybe he says nothing and just stands there, breathing like he is learning a new language. Either way, you are not here to beg the fear out of him. You are here to be honest about what you will and will not build a life around. You pick up the sponge, squeeze it out, and set it on the edge of the sink where it can dry. Then you turn the water off even though it is not running. A small symbolic motion that tells your own mind, we are not doing the old ritual today. The kitchen gets quiet, and the quiet feels like space, not threat. If you've lived this, tell me what the quiet taught you.